again. I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Felsbrunn Farm. So as you can see, we started off the morning with a couple of quick delivery jobs and now we're going to do something a little bit different. So we have a bit of cash available to us with our loan and we're going to need some of it. So let's take out, let's see, that should be enough, I think. Let's just be on the safe side. Take out 35 grand. There we go. And we're going to buy a new piece of equipment for the farm. In fact, we're actually going to, rather than buy it, we're just going to lease it, actually, and save some money. We're going to get ourselves, if we get to the right category, the right tab, we're going to get ourselves a tree planter. And we're going to put down some trees in the gap between our two fields. We'll let them start growing away, and then we'll have some trees to cut down and harvest and sell at the nearby sawmill a little later on. So this is what we're going to get here, the Damcon. We're going to just lease one of these because we're not going to need a lot of it, and we are going to need a pallet of saplings to go with it as well. So we're going to pallets here. I'm just going to get one of these. That should be enough. Actually, no, let's get two. We'll get 2 pallets of saplings. Because we can carry one on the forks, as well as having one loaded in the back of the loading wagon. Well, the tree planter. There we go. I've been looking at some options for our farm and how we can sort of expand some of the things that we can do, and I've been looking specifically at getting a horse paddock up in the area just below field 2, and it's possible. I've got enough space to fit one in, but the problem is there's a lot of terraforming involved. So the cheapest I've been able to figure out for a €50,000 paddock is around 270,000 euros. It's a little expensive right now. So at some point we will be looking to add some horses to our farm, but we do have a little bit of a way to go before we can do that. Unfortunately, it's just too pricey right now, and we are a little sort of limited in terms of our options. There isn't space where we've got the chickens. There wouldn't have been space to put horses there, again, without significant expenditure in terraforming costs. Had we actually been able to physically squeeze one in there, I'm not even convinced we'd have had the space to squeeze one in to start with. So the spot that I've allocated will be where we'll be putting our ranch in the future, but yeah, we need a lot of money before we can do that. And the horses are a pretty good way of making some money. It's a little bit time consuming in some respects. You need to train them all the way up. But the horses will gain, if you train them every day, will gain around $5,000, euros, etc. in value every day to a maximum, I think, 50,000 from a starting base of 5,000. So they can really bring in some serious money. So that's definitely something I'd like to, approach in the future, but we just don't have the funds to actually get that set up at this point. Again, we've gone for a very beautiful location, but it's not the most practical location for our starting farm, so it is hamstringing us just a little bit in terms of what we can do and where we can do it. These are the breaks. I wanted somewhere a little bit different. I figured a lot of people, when they started out, would start out either at the sort of generic location or nearby to that, and I figured, the location I've chosen is one that probably not that many people would go for, and so it gave me a kind of a more of an opportunity to create a unique farm and in a unique location. It's just unfortunate that we don't really have enough money at this point to really develop it the way we would like to. Just got a long way to go before we can do that. And these trees will help. By planting these trees, we're paying out a little bit of money now. Not much, just a few grand for the pallets. Very little for leasing the piece of equipment to plant them with. the Damcon planter that we've currently got attached to the back of us here. And we can stick these in the stretch of land between our two fields in nice straight lines, and then they'll be really easy for us to harvest and chop down when they're fully grown. And the sawmill is literally right around the corner from our farm. That's it, just there. That's the sawmill. So there's our farm, and there's the sawmill. Really, really close. So location-wise, in terms of tree planting and transporting that wood to the sawmill, we're ideally placed. There we go. So the planting rate on this should be pretty standard and generic. If you remember, oh, I've just noticed. Or is that because I'm carrying the second pallet? Yes, it was. For a minute there, I thought that's a bit odd. I've got 40 trees showing, and I should only have 20 showing in the back. But of course, it's counting the ones on my forks as well. I wonder if those will automatically get transferred across. I don't think they will, but you never know. Yeah, the planting rate on this will be pretty straightforward and predetermined. We can't change that. We never could. It was only with seasons that we started to get the opportunity to start messing around with planting distance. That was never a feature of the original base game in 17, or 15 for that matter, when they first introduced logging. But we should be able to plant without the need to plough, so... we'll just turn the engine off. There we go, let's turn the planter on. And there we go, straight away we are planting trees. So we get a nice couple of rows of trees along here, all the way down here. We've got space for at least 2 rows, maybe a third, sort of between the two ones. And I want to plant a little bit away from the field, just so that I've got a little bit of overlap space to make it a little easier on us when we're either planting or weeding or fertilizing or harvesting. Just gives us that little bit of runoff on the side of our field there, rather than being right up against the very edge of it. You can see our plants looking very good now. They're sort of about halfway through their growth cycle. They've still got one more stage of growth, I believe, before they'll be ready to harvest. But our soybean fields are starting to look very nice indeed. And I do think that might be a slightly different crop texture than we're used to. I wonder if Giants have slightly updated or changed. Again, it might just be the lighting with the new lighting engine, but those soybeans do look a little bit different to 17. Especially from above. Okay, so that's halfway through. That's a full pallet done already. Okay, we haven't got enough pallets. Turn off the machine. Drop the pallet down there. This is where I need to be careful trying to figure this out. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get a worker to... Oh, actually, will I be able to do that? I might not be able to do it with a worker. Let's get the other side done first of all. We can always buy another pallet, bring that back and get that loaded into the back of this nice and quickly. Let's get lined up so we're about the same distance, same starting point. We got through those trees a little bit quicker than I was expecting. So again, give us a little bit of an overlap space. There we go, try and get lined up about the same starting spot, which is about there. Lower the equipment, it's already down, turn it on. Off we go. Let's get our second row of trees planted. It'll be interesting to see how quickly these grow in as well. Whether they'll be sort of linked to the same sort of timescale we've seen on 15 and 17, or if maybe that's been tweaked a little bit. Of course, with us kind of manually playing around with our crop growth level, I think these are also affected by the crop growth system. I honestly don't remember. Trees might be independent of that, so yeah, like I said, it'd be interesting to see how quickly these trees start to grow in. And it's not like we have far to take the wood to sell at the sawmill. We can try around with some different lengths of wood, some longer pieces, some shorter pieces. What we could do, rather than having to lease something to cut them with, in terms of something like a Scorpion King or the new Komatsu harvester, what we could do, not cutting them, sorry, no, loading them, something like a timber runner, or the Ponzi Buffalo or the Komatsu equivalent. What we could do is we could just chop them into smallish pieces, throw them into the back of our trailers over there, and then just run them over and tip the trailers. And there we go, we are out of trees again. So let's see, how many more pallets do I want? If I'm going to put a row down the middle as well, that might be a little bit of overkill, but if we go back and get one more pallet, and then we can do all the way down through to sort of the where the chickens are. So let's go get another pallet. Let's just raise the harvester, turn it off, there we go. We'll raise the planter. We'll go get another pallet, we'll load up, come back, finish off planting our trees. 10 more on each row. And then we'll start doing some more contracting, earn a bit more cash. Hopefully there'll be some nice jobs for us. One thing that's important to realise with contracting that isn't immediately necessarily apparent, or you might not immediately think of it, is that the contracts themselves are kind of tied to your plant growth. So if you do like I do and you turn plant growth off during the day, then those contracts aren't going to come back until there's been some growth on the fields. And if plant growth is turned off, it's not just your fields that are affected, it's all the fields on the map. So you need to take that into consideration if you're wanting to sort of wait for a job to pop back up quite quickly again. The crops need to be growing in the background for that job to cycle through again. And it seems to be, from what I've seen so far, that rather than just being random equipment every time, its equipment seems to be programmed for a specific job. Because I've seen a couple of jobs that have duplicated, and it's the same equipment each time. That job has come back around again. So I suppose the next test of that will be to see what happens when that potato field we did comes back up, whether it gives us the same tractor-trailer combination. Obviously it's going to give us the same harvester. That is the only way to harvest potatoes at the moment. But beyond that, if we get the same Fent 724 and the same AgroLiner trailer, then we know that the equipment is preset and it won't be random every time. So I'm going to get that pallet. Oops, nearly rode the guardrail there. A little bit of Tony Hawk style grinding on the side. I'll get that pallet and I'll see you back at the farm in just a moment. Okay, I need to find where the tree stopped, a little bit further ahead by the look of it. That's the last one there, I think. Okay, so we need to position. I kind of need to figure out the spacing as well, make sure there's not too big a gap, but not too small a gap, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to see the trees when they're like this. That should be about right, I think. So we need to put 10 more down here, or close to 10, and then match that on the other side. And then whatever we've got left, we'll plant somewhere else. That's 5. So we'll have a couple left over. I don't want to get too close to the edge. There we go. So I have 1 left over from each pass, so 2 trees remaining. Let's do the second row first. Got to be really careful around our crops now that they are growing in. We will damage the crops if we're not careful. Okay, so that's the line. It's squared back up again. That's where the first tree needs to go, give or take. Planter back on, and off we go. So 9 more trees down here, and then I suppose I can stick 2 near the chickens. Got a little bit of space over there. And what this will also do is this will actually leave us a space, like a corridor, to drive down as well, to shortcut through with our Mahindra or whatever other vehicle we need to shortcut through here, one of our tractors, etc. If we feel like taking that shortcut through the fields. And I do still plan going forward to actually link the 2 fields together and make one big field, but I want to wait until we have a little bit more land available before we do that. So last 2 trees. Yeah, let's stick just here. You can see we've got a nice little selection of boxes starting to appear. We'll check in on the chicken progress at the moment. In a moment, rather than at the moment. If I plonk the tree on there. And stick another one. Got to be careful I don't go too far back and it falls down the cliff when we cut it. I guess there will do. Somewhere around here. I'll hurry up and plant. There we go. Right. So, let's take a quick look at our chickens in our animal overview tab. We're up to 68 litres. That can't be right. We had more than that yesterday, surely. And have we bred all of our chickens back? Not yet. They are still breeding. I sold off 10 chickens last night. And we're breeding some back. 10 chickens got me, you know, $25 to buy a chicken, I think it is. And you get... Oops. Or is it 50 per chicken? 50 per chicken. When you sell them, you get 25 minus a $15 delivery fee per chicken. So you only get $10 for selling a $50 chicken. It's ridiculous. So I sold 10 chickens and I made $100. And that was it. But, you know, if we keep doing that every day, sell 10, get 10 back through breeding, we'll keep our production volume quite high. And over time, the chickens will eventually start to actually turn a profit in terms of their cost. Be a long way off there. And of course, we've still got the eggs here as well. I'm surprised we only have 68 litres. I honestly thought we had more than that yesterday. I'm a little concerned why we have less than that. It's very bizarre. Does it actually tell us, actually, in our silos, does it say how many eggs we have up here? No, it doesn't. I did wonder. I don't think you could tip eggs into a silo. I mean, well, I suppose you could tip eggs into a silo. They'd break and you just get this horrible yolky, cakey mess in your silo. Wouldn't come out again, but yeah, never mind. So we'll let the chickens continue to sort of just cluck away and lay some eggs. Give them a quick clean here while we're here. Let me detach my forks. Just hook up the bucket for a second. Then we'll go drop off the planter and pick up a contract. I think the harvesting contracts are gone. They were certainly gone this morning as time advanced. We just had spraying contracts. So what I might look at doing is just go out and spray some fields today. Take our sprayer down to the store with us, and then we can use our own equipment. And whatever spray we've got left over, we can always use on the next job and the next job and so on and so forth. That might actually be a good way to make some money. Let's take a quick look, in fact, and see what the contract situation is like right now. We've got a transport job. It's all fertilizing apart from this one mowing and baling job, and we've just done one of those recently. So yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll run some fertilizing jobs today. So I'll drop the forks off, and we'll drop those off over here by our remaining pallets. We'll probably need to actually bring some pallets back at some point. We can do that once we've got our harvest done. We're not going to need seed or fertilizer until that point. We'll take our sprayer down with us. We'll have to hook it up to the front, which means in first person we'll be kind of driving blind. Thank goodness for the all-seeing third person spraying. And if I drop that there, I've just seen how low. There's another consideration as well, this crop destruction. I was just looking at our maintenance on our New Holland. We're going to need to give it a bit of a fix. So let's do that. We need to repair 484 euros. And we need to customize. I could have sworn it said dollars to fix there. We're going to want... oops, put that back on. I'm going to want skinnies. Just looking to see if I had, you know, twin skinnies or rear twins. I don't. There we go, narrow tyres. Let's just put the engine back where it should be. And there it is, our new skinny wheeled New Holland. Customise that. I mean, crop destruction doesn't apply, as we know. It doesn't apply to fields that we don't own, but even so, you know, I don't like the visual. Let's respect the rule of crop destruction, even though it won't apply to us on contracted fields, because we don't own them. So we'll take the planter back to the store, we'll fill up our sprayer, we'll start picking up some spray jobs, and we'll spend a good chunk of the day, I think, just running back and forth doing all these different fertilizing jobs today. Right, so that's the planter returned. Let's get the sprayer the right way round now. I am toying with the idea of maybe getting the Kuhn front tank to bolster our supply, but we should be good, I think, with just this. It's got a 2200 litre tank. I think it's 2200 litres. We're going to need some fertiliser. I'm going to buy a couple of these. I've only got enough money for one. Okay, we'll buy one now. We can always come back and buy another one with proceeds from our first contract job. Let's get that filling up, and while that's doing that, let's take out our first fertilizing contract. So what have we got here? Field 22. Where's field 22? Oh, that's really close. Yeah, we'll do field 22 as our first one. So let's take that job on, and we're just going to accept contract. We don't need to lease items because we have a tractor, we have a sprayer. So we'll save a few €100, and we've got a little bit left, look, just a little bit left. I think. Do we have that much left in there? Or has that just been provided for us? I thought we had to provide our own fertilizer. Let me check another one. I'm going to empty out the fertilizer that we have, and I'm going to see if there's much left in this. Ah, no, so that was left over from us. I was panicking for a second then. I was thinking, did we just get given free fertilizer and I bought fertilizer for no reason? Okay, at least we know what's going on now. I'm getting confused for a second. We must have had slightly more in the sprayer than I thought. Okay, there we go. So we know that that's our fertilizer. Like, I thought we had to pay for it. Would have been a bit too nice to give us the fertilizer as well. Very nice little pond scene down here, look. The little boating area at the far end. And this is the field. This is field 22. So let's cut through the trees. There we go. What's going to be the best way to approach this field, I wonder? I think we start at that end. Let's get unfolded. Very nice little pond just there. If we start here, then we can make the turn as we get to it and hopefully not waste too much fertilizer. This is the thing, we need to be as careful with the fertilizer as we can be because we're paying for it. So if we waste the fertilizer, it's coming out of our pocket, not the farmer's pocket. Just raise the sprayer up just a touch. There we go. So we want to be as sparing with the fertilizing as possible. Try not to waste as much of it, waste any of it really. Try and keep as much of it as we can, so that we've got more to take over to the next job, and we just have to pay to refill our tank less frequently. It means we'll make more profit per job that way. And that's what this is all about, right at this stage, is making some money, because we have so little and our loan is killing us to the tune of 3,000 to 4,000 euros a night in interest payments. That's a lot. It adds up very quickly. Over a period of 10 days, 40 grand, that's a harvest in terms of, crop income, depending on the crop. That's a lot to lose. There we go. So we kind of line back up again. And I'm deliberately going this way, like this, because I'm trying to cover as much area per run as possible, so that when we get down to the small stuff, we've got less to worry about, less fiddly bits to worry about, hopefully. This might not work. It's always tricky when you have an odd-shaped field like this, trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to approach it when it comes to fertilizing, so you don't waste your fertilizer. But we seem to be doing a pretty good job right now. Let's just turn the beacons off, don't need those on. And swing around the corner. There we go. So again, minimal wastage. And nice, good straight line coverage this way. So I'm going to carry on doing this, and I will check in with you once we're done. We are almost done with this field. Last time I checked we were at 95%. If we just start straightening out a bit now. That's 98. Nearly there. We reverse around. One more pass should give us the last little bit that we need to complete the job. That's all that's left. That kind of... that'd be a trapezoid, that shape. Oh, there we go. We're done. So, let's complete the contract. There we go. And let's see, where do we go next? Field 13. Ooh, that's a good one there as well. Field 16. So let's check out those two on the map. Let's see where they are. Field 13, oh, right behind us. And field 16 over there. That's actually going to be quite a nice, easy one to spray. As is 13. So we'll do 13 next. Still got 1,000 litres in there. Might need to go back on that one, but we'll and top up. But we'll go straight on to 13 next. There we go. So we'll accept the contract. Again, don't need to lease the equipment because we're already in what we need, and we can just drive straight across to the next field and get that one done. And this one's going to be much easier to do. Much less chance of wasting fertilizer on this one because it's a very nice rectangular shaped field. There we go. So this will give us another 6 grand minus our fertilizing costs, and if we can split the costs of about a pallet per job, or a pallet every 2 jobs, then that'll help bring down those fertilizing costs. That's something you will obviously need to take into consideration when leasing equipment. It'll say how much the contract will be reduced for the leasing costs, but you also then have to factor your fertilizer costs into that as well. Obviously, if you have cows or pigs for that matter, and you're spreading slurry or manure, then you won't have to worry about fertilizer costs because you'll have those materials available as waste product, so to speak, or byproduct from your livestock. So if you do want to do a fertilizer contracting business like this, for example, then I would recommend getting into, say, pigs or cows as early as possible, so that you start generating that supply and you can reduce the cost involved in actually paying for fertilizer by using your own naturally produced materials. Almost out of spray. It's going to be a bit of a race now to see what happens, whether we run out of fertilizer or we complete the job. We're at 90%. I don't think we're going to have enough. I think we're going to have to go and grab that last little bit to finish this job off. It's going to be really close though. We're going to have just a few percent left over. Maybe sort of 6% left, 7% left on the job to do once we're finished with this little batch. There we go, we're out of spray. So let's get folded up so we can get back to the store. 5% left. Okay. Well, we'll buy 2 pallets. Well, we'll buy a pallet when we get there. We've got a little bit left in the pallet that's already available. Let's use the road rather than cutting through the fields. So we'll top up that last little bit, and then we'll buy a fresh pallet, because we'll go off and do another spray job straight after this. We'll go and work on a different field. What I should probably have done, actually, was kept my front loader. Oh, well, we couldn't put the front loader on, could we? I was thinking we could carry that second... Yeah, let's do that. We don't have a time constraint, so let's go back and get the front loader. And this way we can carry a second pallet around with us, so we don't have to keep tracking back to the store. We can carry that reserve supply around. We can drop it off at the edge of the field each time we start a job, and then we can then load up when we need to. And when we run out of spray in the sprayer and the pallet as well, then we can head back to the store and buy some more. But if it saves us a job, in terms, or it saves us trekking back all the time, then that's just going to make things easier for us, I think. So I'll grab the forks, the front loader arms. I keep calling them forks. We'll grab the arms, go get some extra fertilizer, and finish that job off, then move over to the next field. Okay, let's get topped up. There we go. So we need to buy 2 pallets. 1. That's 2. And not cheap, but this will give us enough for 3 or 4 more jobs, depending on the size of the fields that we end up doing. Maybe even more than that. We could potentially do 5 or 6 jobs if the fields are quite a bit smaller. We'll just top all the way up like that. There we go. And then if we load that pallet onto our forks, we can carry this around with us while we're doing the job. Or, you know, when we're moving to the job, and drop it off, and then we'll have a mobile top-up point, effectively. There we go. It's almost like having a separate front tank. It's just not connected. And obviously we're not having to pay for the tank, we're just paying for the contents, which is the actual fertilizer itself. So this is quite a nice, good, cost-effective kind of workaround in some respects. We're not paying however much it costs for a separate tank and then having to pay to fill that up. We're just carrying around what, you know, the contents of the fill-up. So we need to get back to field 13. We've got that last 5% of that field to do. That's going to give us a nice big chunk of cash, about 6 grand or so. Then it looks like we'll be heading over to field 16, over by Railroad Silo West. Another easy job for us to spray. We'll get that field done. And we'll just work our way through. This truly is turning out to be a bit of a spray day payday here for us. So there's our tyre tracks from before. There we go. And engage. %. 98. Almost done. We are wasting a little bit, but not much. I'm okay with that little bit of wastage there. There we go, contract finished. So let's turn that in for 6,461. And now let's go over to field 16 for another 7.5 grand. So, while we're on the way, I've had a question recently in the feedback comments on one of my videos from Dakota Sheffield, complaining about struggling to get dirt on the tractor, and also having problems with dirt disappearing from the wheels. So if I jump out for a second, you can see we've been spraying for a while, and I didn't wash the tractor that recently, so we can see we've got a bit of a build-up of dirt on our tractor, specifically mainly around the wheel rims and the lower part of the body, not so much on the upper section, and that's good. That's the way it should be. And you can see we've got quite a bit of dirt on our wheels right now. Now the dirt build-up is depending on the level that you have. If we go into settings, is it this one? Yes, you can see here dirt can be set to normal, slow, fast, or off, and depending on what your level is set at will determine how quickly that dirt appears on your vehicles and how frequently you'll need to kind of clean them. Now, as far as the wheels go, that is part of the 4 Real mods that are built into the game. It's the tire dirt mod. It's from Farming Sim 17. So what you'll see, or the wheel dirt mod, is as you drive on concrete roads, the dirt starts to disappear, and this is to simulate real life. If you have muddy tires and you're driving, or you just have, you're driving around on fields and muddy ground, then your tires are going to pick a lot of that dirt up, and the ground is quite soft, so it stays there. But as soon as you get onto hard, solid ground like a concrete or tarmac road, that dirt gets shaken from the wheels and from the treads of the tires, and that's why it disappears. So that's what this mod simulates. Now, this was a mod in 17, but it's now part of the base game. And if we just pull over for a second and take a closer look at the wheels, you can see they're much, much cleaner. There's a lot of the dirt. It's not all gone, but a lot of that dirt has been shaken off the wheels by driving on tarmac. So if you're wondering why your wheels suddenly get clean for no reason, that's why. It's part of the 4 Real mods that are now built into the game as standard. And whereas you can turn off crop destruction, ground response and the wheel dirt or tyre dirt mods are built in and permanently switched on. They don't affect the gameplay in any way, they just are part of the visuals and the feel of the game. It's not like crop destruction where you can obviously damage your crops, and if you don't want that turned on, you can turn that off. There's no negative impact to tyre dirt, there's no negative impact to ground response. They're just part of the base game experience now. Well, here we are at the field. So a bit of a sloped field, but a nice straightforward kind of shape. So let's just turn the indicators off for a second. I don't want to get too close to the train lines. Let's disconnect our whole front linkage there, like that. Let's get the sprayer unfolded, and this looks to be freshly planted potatoes. So it's a good thing, really, that we did go with skinny wheels. I mean, again, crop destruction only applies to land that you own. So we've gone through this already in the past, but for those of you that missed it or are new to the series, crop destruction only applies to the fields that you own. So we could come on here with triple wide wheels on a T9 if we wanted to, and we wouldn't damage this field at all. However, if we owned this field and we drove over this with triple wide wheels on a T9, then we would absolutely destroy this potato field. I like to kind of play along with the the mindset of, if we're going to go off and do spray jobs, we put skinny wheels on, whether we own the land or not, because I like to treat other farmers' land as though it were ours in that respect. So even though we don't need these skinnies for this job, for our contracting work, that's why I fitted them. And now that we're back on mud again, back on the field, you can see how quickly our wheels are getting muddy, how much is getting packed in the tread there, and very, very quickly. And again, that'll start to shake off as soon as we get onto concreted roads and tarmacked roads. So once we finish this job and we go looking for the next one, just driving along the main roads will loosen that dirt off the wheels, and they'll start to clean up again. There goes the train whizzing through. We are... How far ahead? 69%, 70%. Almost done with this. Still got over 1,000 litres left in the tank. Definitely a bigger field, this one. And I've been looking at where we can go next, and I think possibly we might go back to field 6. This is where we did our potato harvest recently. That is now ready for fertilizing. We could go there. We've got field 10 as well. Let's have a look at field 10. Or 10 is going to be easier. Yeah, I think we'll go to field 10 next. Oh, I just hired a worker, didn't I? Pressed circle to, for some reason, close the mini-map there. Mistaking myself for being in the menu map for a second then. What's our percentage so far? 80%, so yeah, not too far done on this one. Just over 11 acres, this field. So it's a good old size. It's using up a fair amount of fertilizer. Trying to be as efficient as I can with the spraying to minimize loss. And I think width-wise, we're just about going to get perfect coverage on the next pass as well. This is going to be quite a nice, tight fit by the look of it. Let's start spinning here. Ah, beautiful. Look at that. So a run down here is going to be quite good for us. That's 91%. Wow, we've burnt off quite a lot of fertilizer on this job, haven't we? This was a full tank. This is 2,200 litres at the start of this job. So I'm glad we brought that second tank with us because we're going to need it very quickly. .95. Come on, tick over. Sometimes it updates in real time, sometimes it doesn't for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. But we are almost done. There we go, we're done. So, let's complete that contract. And that's another 7,500 in our bank account. So we're making some serious money today, which is great to see. Let's get hooked up to our supplies. Let's take out the contract for field 10. There it is. Let's make our way over to the next location. Okay, let's drop off just there. We'll have a little bit of a top up now. There we go. Let's open out our sprayer. It's a big old field, field 10, isn't it? But again, it's a nice rectangular shape, so it's going to be nice and easy for us to work this field. Get lined up, raise the boom arm up. There we go. And off we go. We have a great demand at Grain Elevator East. I wonder what that's what crop's this one for. Let's have a look. Grain Elevator East. What's being offered this time? Oh, eggs. I was going down really quickly as well. Okay, we're going to take advantage of the ability to switch from contracts. We're going to jump over to our Mahindra. We're going to sell all of our eggs. Actually, let's take a look. Yeah, that is the best price, but it's plummeting. Absolutely plummeting. We might not be able to get there quickly enough. I was hoping I could auto-load. Doesn't look like I can. If I have to manually lift these in... Yeah, I'm going to have to manually load them into the back. By the time I get done with that, the price is going to be not worth it. So I thought we could maybe go sell our eggs, but yeah, we'll let them stockpile up, and we'll do that another time instead. Let's put this back in its bay. There we go. Let's close the help window back down again and get back to our contract. Carry on with the spraying. We're making good money spraying, so let's just carry on with our spray day payday. Another spray job about to come to its conclusion. And there we go, that's 100%. But it still hasn't quite finished off yet. There we go, now it's finished. So, let's complete. That's 8,242. Very, very nice. Do I have a short-ish job that isn't going to use up too much fertilizer? Because I haven't got a lot left. Let's see. Field 33. Field 26. Field 18. Where's Field 18? Let's take a look at Field 18. Right below us, yeah. So let's take on Field 18. That'll be the last one for this episode. I might carry on, do a couple more into the early hours, or the late hours of the evening. We'll take this contract on. So where did I leave my fertilizer? There it is. And that, the other side of the road, is our next target field. That is Field 18. So we'll get a little bit of a top up, just to make sure we've got enough to do this job. There we go. Let's reattach our front loader. What time is it? Coming up on 4:45. So yeah, I've got time to do maybe 1 or 2 more spray jobs after this, once the cameras have stopped rolling. And obviously I'll update you on that at the start of the next episode as to which fields I did and how much extra we brought in. There we go. So, another field to spray, some more money to make, and that is the end of this particular episode. So, I am Jim Bob, thanks for watching. Felsbrunn Farm will return very soon.